My girlfriend forbid me from attending a funeral. My girlfriend Natalie and I had been together for almost 3 years. Things were good, and we'd been talking about moving in together next year after her lease ended. 2 weeks ago, I got a message from an old friend telling me that someone I used to know had died unexpectedly. It was the younger brother of my ex-girlfriend from over a decade ago. When I dated my ex for about 2 years, her little brother was just a kid, maybe 10 or 11 years old. I have clear memories of him showing me his Pokemon card collection and asking me to help him with his science homework and coming to his soccer games. After the breakup, I obviously lost touch with that entire family, but hearing that he died at only 23 in a hiking accident really affected me. This was a kid I'd known and cared about who'd had his whole life ahead of him. The funeral was scheduled for the following Saturday, and I thought about whether I should go. I hadn't spoken to my ex or her family in years, but I felt like I wanted to pay my respects to someone whose childhood I'd been part of. When I mentioned it to Natalie, she immediately said she didn't think I should go. I asked why, and she said it would be inappropriate to show up at my ex-girlfriend's family event. I explained that this wasn't about my ex at all. This was about a young person who died tragically and who I'd known when he was a child. I said I wanted to express my condolences to the family. Natalie said if I really cared about expressing condolences, I could send a card, but that physically attending the funeral would be disrespectful to our relationship. She said my ex would be there grieving her brother, and my presence would be about her, not about him. I told Natalie I understood her perspective, but that I felt strongly about going. She said if I went to that funeral, she'd consider it a violation of her boundaries and would seriously reconsider our relationship. I was shocked that she was giving me an ultimatum over attending a funeral. I said I wasn't going to see my ex, I was going to a memorial service for someone who died. Natalie said it didn't matter what my intentions were, it mattered how it would look and feel. She said she wouldn't be comfortable with me spending time around my ex-girlfriend regardless of the circumstances. I asked if she really expected me to skip a funeral because she was insecure about me being in the same room as someone I dated over 10 years ago. She said it wasn't about insecurity, it was about respect for our relationship. We argued about it for 2 days. Natalie kept saying that going to this funeral would show I still had emotional ties to my ex's family. I kept explaining that my emotional ties were to a kid I'd known who was now dead. I talked to my friend Marcus about the situation, and he said Natalie was being unreasonable. He said attending a funeral to pay respects to someone you knew isn't about your ex, it's about basic human compassion. The day before the funeral, I told Natalie I decided to go. She said if I went, she'd need space to think about whether she could continue our relationship. I said I was sorry she felt that way, but that I needed to do what I thought was right. The funeral was sad and difficult. I sat in the back and didn't approach my ex or her family during the service. Afterward at the reception, my ex saw me and came over to say thank you for coming. We talked for maybe 5 minutes about her brother and how the family was coping. It was a completely appropriate interaction between two people who'd once known each other mourning someone they'd both cared about. There was nothing romantic or inappropriate about it. When I got home, Natalie was sitting on my couch waiting for me. She asked how it was, and I told her it had been a respectful memorial service and that I was glad I'd gone. She asked if I'd talked to my ex. I said yes briefly to offer my condolences. Natalie said she'd been thinking while I was gone and that she couldn't be with someone who would choose their ex's family over their current partner's feelings. I told her I hadn't chosen anyone over her. I'd made a decision to attend a funeral for someone who died, which had nothing to do with our relationship. Natalie said the fact that I couldn't see why this bothered her showed we had different values. She said in a committed relationship, your partner's comfort should come first, even if you don't agree with their concerns. I said in a committed relationship, your partner should trust your judgment and not try to control your actions based on their insecurity. I said I'd proven myself trustworthy for 3 years, and her reaction to this situation showed she didn't actually trust me. We went back and forth for over an hour. Eventually, I said I thought we should break up because I couldn't be with someone who'd give me ultimatums about attending funerals. Natalie said I was proving her point by choosing to end our relationship over my ex's family. I said I was ending it because she'd shown me that her jealousy was more important than basic human compassion. She left crying and texting me that I'd regret throwing away 3 years over one funeral, but I don't regret it because her reaction to this situation revealed something fundamental about who she is. It's been a week since we broke up, and I'm still processing everything. Part of me wonders if I should have just skipped the funeral to keep the peace, but then I remember that she was asking me to ignore someone's death because of her own insecurity. My sister said Natalie's reaction was a red flag, and that if I'd given in to this ultimatum, there would have been more unreasonable demands in the future. She said someone who tries to control your compassion for others isn't someone you want to build a life with. I'm sad about losing a 3-year relationship, but I'm also relieved that I saw this side of Natalie before we moved in together, or got more serious. Her inability to understand why attending this funeral mattered to me showed we have incompatible values about empathy and trust.